Bueno, buenas a todos, a toda la gente a todos los participantes.
Hello, everyone. I would like to say hi to all the attendees that we have today at this webinar. My name is Federico Dominioni, and I am the CTO of K2BTools. So I would like to tell you a bit about what we have incorporated in this last version of the tool. I don't know if everyone in the office has someone that is trying to keep track of how many times you sneeze, and depending on that you're sent home. But what happens at the office is that if you sneeze more than a number of times, then you're sent home, and that's why I'm home. You know that for many people it's important to look cool, so I really like to I thought about setting up this bookshelf in the background to for you to have a good impression of me. I didn't find any books or the bookshelves, so I just have this book, this pad actually, and I can use this to prove that I'm a fierce reader, and it's as if I had a bookshelf in the background, which is such a fancy background. So let's just get this webinar started. Thank you for joining. It's great to have people from different countries, different places around the world. So thanks to you all. I hope that the sound is okay, that you can hear me well, and I hope that you have fun, that you find this interesting. So to get started, I'm going to share with you an institutional video of K2BTools.
K2BTools is the professional tool suite with the most experience in the GeneXus community. It automates the creation of applications and drastically decreases development times, building applications in a quick, easy, and cost-effective way. With a presence in over 20 countries and an interdisciplinary team, K2BTools is made up of different solutions which adapt to the needs of each project or organization. K2BTools Web consists of a set of patterns and extensions which automate the creation of web applications in GeneXus. K2BTools Mobile allows GeneXus developers to generate native applications for all devices using predefined patterns and designs. K2B Audit is a transparent solution which leverages the process of auditing every update to an application and access to its data. K2B Call You is a component for the integration of video calls in any GeneXus application. The core values at K2BTools will be reflected in your projects. Higher productivity, allowing for the development of a large number of features automatically and with little or no effort. Best development practices used in large-scale projects and incorporated into the current methodology to generate high-quality applications. Secure applications guaranteed, aligned with the global information security principles. Excellent user experience, on the same level as some of the most advanced design systems. Technological evolution hand in hand with every new GeneXus release. Make the most of your GeneXus applications with K2BTools.
Bueno, bien, ese fue nuestro buenas tardes a todos los que siguen desde el chat escribiendo.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi to everyone interacting on the chat. It's important to just mention that we will have a Q&A session after the presentation. And well, as usual, I'd like to begin by telling you that we are, as you know, we are part of the GeneXus Consulting and K2B group that have the longest trajectory with development and solutions with GeneXus. In 2021, we were acquired by Constellation Software, by Vestas Software, which is one of the companies of that group, and we belong to a much larger group. So the great news for us is that this means that we have much more backup. And this happened in 2021. So this means that many of you have already been in contact with us, and you know that the relationships that we have with you have not changed. We remain the same. So this is a great push for us because it gives us a lot of possibility to keep growing. The video, I think, has already talked about a number of things that I believe are useful because, it means that I don't have to repeat them. But all of this, all of KB Tools is done by people that have different backgrounds, different skills. As you know, we have a number of people that put their skills to the service of achieving the best tools that you can have in GeneXus with a very solid knowledge in different disciplines. The video has already told you a bit about the different solutions that we offer, so I will go straight to the point. And we're going to be talking about what we have been doing, preferably within our products. So just as an intro, for those of you that don't know anything about K2BTools, especially the web part of it, what we try to do in K2BTools for web is to automate all the elements, or as many elements as we can in an application. For that, we automate and we automatically generate GeneXus code, and among all these elements that are part of a web application, we have the interface. And part of our philosophy is that when you can specify the language, for KB Tools, you can generate the interface. And we believe that this language needs to be separate from the design. If you take a look at the tree that you have on the screen here on the left, you will see that it's a very simple specification of the different columns and filters and orders, but we are nowhere saying whether filters should be at the top or at the bottom or on the side. That is someplace else. And we believe that with this, we can be feature-proof, because by keeping the same language, you can just generate designs that are completely different. And this will remain unchanged over time. What do I mean by this? That perhaps tomorrow there will be maybe a new explosion or a different trend, a new boom of something. And to incorporate that, the only thing that you need to do is to replicate this. Because the language, in its largest part, will remain the same. That is a bit of our philosophy. And KB Tools, part of what we do is we work with different design systems. This also happens at a very high level. For those of you that don't want to delve into the world of CSS, you have this design system configuration to configure at a very high level. We also try to, when we saw this interface specification language, we try to allow you to have it done in the fastest and simplest way. And we have always incorporated differences from the KB, but in this webinar, I'll be telling you about something else, about things that we've been doing based on the knowledge that we have and on how we can make this work faster and make it more simple. In KB Tools, we have a lot of UI components, so we will be telling you a bit about what those components are and what is the UI components goal, which is to improve, of course, the UX. So what are those components that will result in our clients and customers giving us a huge hug and being very happy about our work? And then we will talk about automated features. That means that you don't have to implement them yourselves. And in each version, we keep on incorporating more and more features. And very soon, there will be very little that you will have to do that is not automated. So let's begin by talking a little bit about design systems. Even though we try to offer a layer that is above the design system, which is the design system configuration, I promise that we'll talk about that briefly in a minute. This allows us to configure the different elements in an application. Sometimes because it's a project requirement, even though you may have a number of projects that can be done in a certain way, it may require that you need to customize something. So I will tell you a bit about this, because in KB Tools, we are supporting the design system object. So I'd like to tell you that I believe this design system object is one of the most important features that GeneXus has released in the last years. And we believed it from day one. And so we really try to support it very fast in KB Tools. So for those of you that don't know, the design system object, which is being supported since November, is a new object in GeneXus that replaces the theme object. It has a very similar language to CSS, where it's really easy to add new rules. And what are the advantages that this gives us? That if we need to touch something, it's pretty easy to just add a new rule. Oftentimes, those that know about CSS and know how to work with CSS, whenever you want to do something, for example, we use, you change something on Chrome and Firefox, and you get those changes, and then translating that to the theme editor was kind of cumbersome. And this is practically a copy-paste function. So it's a million times easier. It's absolutely spectacular. It also allows us to centralize the definition of tokens. A token is something that represents a value, and you can reference that within your CSS. For example, in this case, you can see that we have a class that has a title, and we are saying that the font is this token, that the size is this token, and the color should be this token. So, and then in another place, you have the value for each token. What is this good for? Because sometimes it will allow you to centralize all the definition of fonts and sizes and colors. This is really cool because a lot of people may be using all of this, and there are many classes that reference the same font or the same size or the same color, and you don't need to repeat that again and again. You can just use tokens instead. But on top of that, and this is quite cool, GeneXus allows you to change the token values in a runtime. And this means that you can, for example, change the color from light to dark, or you can have it random as well. But this light to dark change is one of the main advantages that this offers. You say, for example, these are the colors that we're going to use in the light mode, and these are the dark mode colors, and you can just change that very easily. The other thing that is critical is that a design system object can import another design system object. What does this mean? How does this help you? Well, when you were using the theme object before, K2BTools had its theme, and you were working with your theme. And one of the things that happened very often is that version after version, we released new things in the K2BTools, the K2BTools, and also you customized at the same time. And everything was part of the same object. And we did the best that we could to allow those mergers between different versions to remain the same and to have those changes for one object. Well, this is anyway much better. This K2BTools will give you the design system object that will be imported version after version, and the only thing that you need to do is you use this import, and you will have centralized all the changes that you have made. So this simplifies things a lot, and it makes it much easier to migrate between different versions. So this for us was very important. Actually, I believed that, well, GeneXus released it, and then 3 weeks after we were supposed to release it, but I thought that was the case, and I just wanted to get some data. And where can we find these real live data? Well, basically, social media is the place. Twitter, right? It's the place where, for example, when you see an ad, or something, you can't even click on stuff. because sometimes, you know, that media outlets will just write a tweet so that it's, you know, catchy or something. But you know that doesn't happen on Twitter. And so I went to Twitter, and GeneXus says, this is the source of truth, right? GeneXus said, okay, we have released this design system object. And that tweet was posted on the 11th of November last year. And K2BTools, I also went to Twitter, and I saw that our tweet was on the 5th of November. I don't know how we did this, but apparently we released it before GeneXus did. And this is just amazing because, you know, it's really important for us to support this. Considering that we have the design systems object support, from K2BTools, we can give you the dark variant. This means that we can explore, you know, for example, from light to dark, we can change this like this. So we're seeing an interface that was made using K2BTools, where the user, by clicking on that sun icon, can just vary the interface and, you know, switch from light to dark. And it's good to have this dark variant because there is this belief that it will not be as harmful on your eyes when you work with a dark interface. And I'm saying that there is this theory because nothing has been, I think, proved yet. But if you're using an application and you're feeling tired and you just switch to the dark mode, and you will have the same thing at the end of the day, and it's the end user that makes the call whether to use the light or the dark mode. But well, with K2BTools, this allows you to have this change in your design. Also, version after version, we make changes to the design system configuration. So you can just enable the dark mode just by clicking here. And another thing that we did was we changed all the colors part, all the different colors that are part of K2BTools, so that we can group them and give them a hierarchy, but also to allow you to just change what something will look like in terms of color. Even though you will have a design system object with predefined colors, we wanted to give you the possibility to, in a very simple way, just switch from light to dark in the design system configuration part. And you can just choose, for example, I want this to be my primary color in the dark mode, and you just go and change it. You can easily do this from the design system configuration. Okay, well, another thing that we have incorporated in the last couple of versions in K2BTools is to offer more logical possibilities. In many projects, as you know, it may have happened to you that people need to have filters on the left. And even though you can always do this with K2BTools because it's about just touching a little bit about the basic layout and you will have all the filters on the left, at a certain point we were wondering, what if we just do this by default? So this is just an option that you can have it in K2BTools. You can have your filters on the left. And then, of course, this involved work with designers and the whole team. And some people said, well, you know, but it should be fixed on the left. And some other people said, well, it should be movable. It should be floating. And whenever that discussion became a bit heated, and some punches were thrown, you know, in the middle of that argument, we just gave the possibility to the K2BTools developer to choose, and you will have all the options, and you don't need to fight over it. Don't worry. So you will be the ones that decide. And if you want to just get physical about it, you may. So this is the design with the filters on the left, as I mentioned. These are the fixed filters on the left. It's always like that on the screen. This is one of the most common cases. Then you have another variant, which is a floating filters, which is, well, you know, on request, you can just on demand, you can collapse it or not. You can do this also with K2BTools. And another option the filters on the left that are collapsed, that when you open it, you have the full grid. This is valid. You can do this from the design system configuration for all the different panels of your application, or you may do it just for one instance. For example, in this panel or in this location, you needed to have the filters on the left in a certain way. Well, you can just do it like that as well. So this is what I wanted to tell you about design systems, okay, and how we support the design system objects and the new variants and filters in the dark mode.
¿Cómo tratamos también para que ustedes puedan?
Now I'm gonna tell you a bit about how you can build applications on the K2BTools with the fastest, in the fastest and simplest way, and how we allow you to do this. So in K2BTools, we always differentiate. For example, when we're gonna have a panel or an instance, we always use the KB structure, yeah, the transactional model, and then the developer was the one that had to select what was used. But we went one step further, and we don't only do this based on the KB's structure, but also based on the possibilities and functionalities that you have, and what are the options that users use the most. In K2BTools, we have a lot of functionalities, a lot of things that are automated in terms of, like, for example, properties. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to infer how you want to make your panels and give you possibilities at a higher level so that it's faster and easier to build your applications. And we called this template-based creation. Our goal by this is for you to be much faster when you create your languages to describe the interface, a better and greater discovery of the power of K2BTools. So, of course, more and more you will have a number of things that you can do, and luckily, we are just keeping up with everything that is changing in the world, and this means that sometimes it's so much that it's necessary to improve that discovery. And another thing that we're doing with this point as well is that we are really close at the moment. You know that GeneXus is a low-code platform, and we're really, really close to a no-code scenario. We could even get to the point where you can just build an application without having to write a single line of code, and that would be amazing. So I will tell you a bit about this template-based creation. Here we have the creation of a product. So when you apply one of our patterns, now I'm going to have an option to create it based on a template. So what I can see here is a preview with different options, and in real time on a product, because here I'm seeing what that would look like based on the product for that template. And I'm going to say, okay, for products, I want to have a multiple view, which I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then I would like to have some cards, a main card and some smaller cards below, because in K2BTools, we know that that looks good. So I'm going to click on save, and automatically, okay, apparently I clicked something that was wrong. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. I clicked something that took me to the end of the presentation. This happens. Okay, great. Here I am. So this is an example. What I did was just in product, I chose a template that allows me to have two views of the grid. So you're going to have a card view where you see, for example, pictures, and you see all that information. And you can just switch like this. That will give a hierarchy to the most important information and the different elements that will be shown in different cards. And this doesn't mean that you're touching anything in the instance. So far, we haven't touched a single thing. And this is very powerful too. So you say, well, this multiple view thing is great, but you could say, for instance, I wanted to change something. So you can change the work with. You go to the selection and you say, okay, now what I want is, you see that you also have filters on the left, so you can choose what you want to work with. And you have a master detail and the details on the right. And you could always do this with K2BTools with certain properties, but this is more graphic and easier. Yeah. So I click on this entity manager, so that instead of being shown like this, it will be shown with a vertical menu on the left that also looks really good, which is another way to display information. I make all the changes, I leave, I exit this, and automatically I get something which is absolutely different. It's a completely new interface, and then you select one product, and you can take a look at the details here of the product on the right, and you can edit it in real time. So depending on what you want to do and what kind of interaction you're going to have, this is really fast. And the discovery that you can do this in K2BTools is really simple, really straightforward. So you just click on more information to go there, and you have an entity manager, and you have the different, you see how really cool this vertical menu looks as an option to give hierarchy to the information about a certain entity. So these are one of those things that we really believe will help you build your applications in GeneXus in a much faster way. This was also incorporated in the web panel designer in the last version. Here you will have a list where you say, what do you want to do? Do you want to create a wizard, a detail, a list, an edit? When you select what you want to do, you have to say, okay, what is the base object, which can also, you can also get this from the preview. You have, for example, here that you want to create a clients list or a customer list. Then you go to the template selector, and here you will be offered a number of possible templates. You get a lot of options for that list part. And you can say, for example, okay, I want to have a card, I want to have a full screen grid, which is usually used when you do shopping, for example. Here we have a preview that is being applied to the base object. This is what it's going to look like when you apply it. So you can just see it in this preview right here, which is giving you very interesting feedback on what is going to change. So, for example, if you just want to see the pictures of your clients, this is completely customizable through properties. Or the preview part is full of options that you can just select and choose. For example, that here I can say that I'm going to, choose a list that is going to show me the selected elements on the left. And once you click on finish, you can customize your panel so that, for example, you want to delete some of the items in the grid so that it doesn't have all the fields. And once you've done that, you just exit and you create your panel. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so you have a selection interface. You click here. Yeah, these are things that you could always do with K2BTools, but now you get the possibility of doing this discovery in a much faster way and it's much easier. So yeah, you can just delete here, what you selected, and you can add the different selected elements. It's a number of things that you can just do when it comes to generating these interfaces on K2BTools. Great. Going back, because we have many more options, something quite interesting is that for the base object, which could be a transaction or a data provider or an SDT, for example, for lists, because the web panel designer supports not only creating things, well, we're going to create a detail, and that detail will be created with a product transaction. Here you can see all the options to customize that detail. you know, the generic detail, or perhaps one that will give a hierarchy to the pictures or put it in the center, at the top, on the left. You have a number of options. We're going to choose this one with the photo on top. We're going to click on finish. And we're going to improve this panel a bit in this web panel designer. It's always easier to delete than to add. So here you just need to delete some fields that you're not interested in showing. And automatically for a given product, you will get this kind of interface for detail that is really cool for those entities that are that stand out, let's say, for example, based on a photo that will make it easier for people to understand what they are talking about. So I really think that this will make your process much more powerful with a much easier discovery. And it's a very interesting path, this path that we are building on the K2BTools, so that you can have an easy process to build your applications. Now we're going to tell you about our dear UI components. In each version of K2BTools, we keep releasing more and more UI components with our clear objective, a clear goal, which is to improve our user experience. So in this way, we add more controls because we believe that those controls are used, that people need them, and that this will truly make your lives easier. So let me tell you a bit about the last controls in the UI that we have incorporated. This is a toggle. What this does, on top of the fact that it allows you to have images, this is for simple selection. So you have a restricted number of options. You can't have too many options. And you need to realize what you chose, for example, geographically. So in K2BTools, depending on the kind of image, you will have three options, whether you want to use the small chip, which is, of course, small, then you can choose something that is a bit more like medium-sized. Or if you want to have something that calls a bit more everyone's attention on the interface, then you can just choose the large chip, the large rectangle, actually. That is a control that if you use it, for example, in a case like this, it is very useful. So you can totally find, you know, a place to use it. Another thing that we added that, well, you know that in previous versions of K2BTools, you had a combo with images and the search bar and everything. And we said, okay, let's have a suggest. So this is really good. We have a huge list of elements and you need to select one. So in K2BTools, what we incorporated was this extended suggest function that basically allows you to just choose from a list. There are like 20 variants, 20 variables that you can set up because it's supporting pictures with the text below, no photo with additional information on the right. You can, you know, dip and dabble into this and just, you will see that there are a number of options that you can work with this, with the design variables, so that you can give to your users the best applications that you can make. Now we're going to talk about another interesting point. This is one of the things that we incorporated in the last K2BTools version, which is the numeric input. What is this? Okay, I'm going to tell you about how this works. Many times in this case, we're going to work with an example in which I define an element that has a length of 8, 2 decimals, and then the numeric input will reuse the definition of a picture in GeneXus, because GeneXus's picture has a number of advantages. One of them, for instance, is that when you have an attribute with that picture in a report or on a screen, or you apply that in the string format, it will have the applied picture. So that makes that field look the same everywhere. And we thought that it would be key for this to try to reuse as much as possible this picture in GeneXus. Actually, yeah, we completely reused it. And the biggest difference is that it applies the picture while you are in the field, which we also believe improves the UX. Let's take a look at an example. This is GeneXus's picture. This is when you have an input with this picture. I wrote, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you see that only then will the only when you leave the field will you get this format with the comma and the point. But what we believe is that it makes a better user experience that to get that format as you're giving the input. So what you have here is this. You have the numeric input for K2BTools where you're writing the same example, but you see that the moment that I write number 4, you get the comma for thousands, and the same thing for decimals. Yeah. So this is an example where the decimal separator needs to be included by the user, but sometimes in banking applications or perhaps in supermarket cashiers, it is done slightly different. So what you can do is you can do exactly the opposite if you want. So you see that the decimals separator will be there by default, the point, and it's automatically applied. And the first digits that you enter are part of the decimals section, let's say. And if you write more digits, then everything moves to the left. This is very much used in bank transfers, for example. And you can do this today with K2BTools. You can reuse the picture from GeneXus. You can choose, you should choose this decimal separator implicit, because that means that you will not have to write a comma or a point, depending what is the decimal separator that you're using. And this is by default. This is given to you with K2BTools, and that's great for this kind of data. But many times you also need to have different formats. For example, for this. Yeah, if I'm choosing numbers for, I'm inputting numbers for a credit card, and you have 4 groups of 4 numbers that are perhaps separated by a dash, then you don't want to have an input field that gives you the option to write a credit card and it will give you whatever. You want something that will help the person while they're writing, so that their user experience will be better. And another thing that is very requested in Brazil, which is the CNPJ or the CPF, the ID document, where you can have actually both things at the same time. You see that this is, look at the format as I write the numbers. You get points and you get slashes and you get the dash. This is very common. This was developed with a number of collaborators from Brazil. They realized that this was a huge need that they had, and all of this, car plates, Uruguayan identity documents, Argentinian IDs, a number of things can be applied by default, and it greatly improves the user experience of your customers. And this is also quite interesting. You can, for example, decide which is the output value. You have the attribute, and you can decide that this value will have the mask. It will be with mask. For example, if you write an ID number, that you will get the points, or that the value will be without mask. So, for example, 2980XXX. You can configure this in one of the properties, depending on what you want to do in terms of like storing the value, but also you will have different properties. So, for example, in the variables attribute, where you apply this kind of control in K2BTools, you also have this chance to this possibility to work with the unformatted value, and it will give you, of course, the unformatted value, or you can just have variables, which is a formatted value, and it will give you the value with a format. Many times you just need to get to store or to save both things, or to just save one of them because they will be interacting with another system. You need to send that out the output needs to be in a different format. So we were truly convinced that this was a huge requirement and a very important need to be met. And I'm sure that it will be very useful. Another thing that we added is to have this image region selector for an image region. For example, if you're, okay, I clicked it again. I shouldn't have clicked that. So, for example, at a movie theater, yeah, this is, and this is, for example, to book a spot in a car park. Apparently, we had some users that were having trouble with a car park, and there were a lot of arguments about it because they said, no, that's my spot. No, this is my spot. You know, so here you can just book a place. You can book your spot the day before where you will be parking your car. And, you know, a lot of, you know, arguments are spared. People may fight for a number of reasons. This is not going to be one of them. So that's quite cool. And these are some of the UI components that we have incorporated. You know, version after version, we keep on making progress. We have thought about a number of new components that will be part of the next update. And this is all using state-of-the-art GeneXus technology so that we can really make the most of it. And it's a line of work that we believe is super important and super useful. And now we're going to talk about automated features. I'm going to tell you a bit about what we have incorporated in this sense. One of the things is that you can order your columns in runtime. You have an application, you have a user, for example, that needs to see columns in a certain order. So nowadays in K2BTools, you get that possibility to just drag your columns and put them in the order that a user determines. And this is this persists as part of the user's preferences. So once you make the changes, they stay like that. And if they log back in, they will again see the columns in the order that they chose. We have also made some improvements because you know that we were always really critical and try to see whether or not our property names were correct or not. And we saw that we had a property that was not very intuitive because it was really hard, for example, to explain what this was. And so we decided to just make a reform, and we changed that property. Now we're calling it element relative position. And we are adding more options so that it's clearer to you where the different elements in a form will be placed. So now, if, for example, you have a new row, which is the by default option, all the elements go in a different row, basically. Then you have a new cell property, which is the new, it's, for example, what happens with email or occupation, or same cell if you want the fields to be together, you just click on that same cell. For example, here we have a prefix and a name that normally needs to go together. And this is going to help you improve the way in which you build your forms, especially for those of you that need to have certain fields, you know, one next to the other. Another thing that we have also added is the import and export of CSV. A very common scenario for this is that you have an application where you're testing it, for example. You're testing it before sending it into production, or you're just entering data. And now you want to enter some data in production. How do you do that? So the import and export function can really help you with this. And one of the most common scenarios, for example, here I am in my pre-production environment. And what do we do here? You have your customers and you want to move them to production. So you export to CSV.
Y entonces hago el export así. Y entonces ahora
there you go.
A mi ambiente en producción.
And now you go to your production environment where you want to enter those customers. So you're here in this new environment and you can import from CSV. You come here, you select files, the file that you want to do it with. And the first thing that you have is a preview of what are the data that you have to work with, and you can validate it. And this is really useful because CSV can have different formats. So you will see that, you will validate because you have no errors. It is because it didn't give you any errors, it is confirmed, and there you have it. It's been imported, the whole of it. And this is one of the usage scenarios where you can really use this. Again, you have this preview so that you see what you're importing. Of course, first of all, to realize whether or not you're importing the right thing, but also to validate before you do it. And all of this is automatic with K2BTools. A couple of important things that you have to configure is, for example, you have a general property that is the import error management policy that basically tells you what happens if, when you're importing some of the data are not okay, should you continue or should you just stop everything, and you can reconfigure. And then in the use and CSV import export function, you can also have this property as an attribute, which is for non-visible attributes, where, for example, you can incorporate it so that it will appear the import and export. The idea is for them, for the import and export to be symmetrical. So when you generate an export with K2BTools, you will have the same import. And what happens when you get an error, for example? Okay, I'm going to, for example, import a CSV. I add the file. I select, I validate data. And when I click here, I see that I have two fields that have an error because it says, for example, first name is required, last name is required. And it's really good that you know this before you import. You can go back to the CSV and you can edit it, or you can just talk to the person that sent it to you and say, hey, this is gonna, give me an error because this information is missing, these details are missing. And that makes it much faster. And this is another functionality that we believe is quite interesting, and it's part of everything that has become more automated in K2BTools. So, well, these were the most relevant or interesting things that we had to share with you. Much of these things that we release version after version also come as part of your feedback and your requests. We have a very, very important community that has a significant number of users that give us feedback on a regular basis. We have a K2BTools forum where anyone can ask a question, make a comment or a suggestion. And trust me when I tell you that we have incorporated a lot of those suggestions that are today part of our product. So this is, I'm sure, definitely something to keep in mind. Another really cool thing is that we also, we're organizing twice a year what we call the Space K2BTools, which is for K2BTools users. And I would love to invite you to attend, to be part of that. You just ask questions, you make suggestions, and we get some really, really cool feedback from that. It's a great event, and it's virtual, so it means that you have people from all over the world. And sometimes we did that, that in person, which meant that it was really restricted, only for people that could attend the event, of course, in the pre-COVID world. And this is much more powerful in so many ways because you can have access to, you can reach a number of people. And also all of this is documented in the K2BTools wiki. So this means that for a feature to pass all the tests, it needs to be documented. And trust me that everything that I've shown you is 100% documented in the K2BTools wiki. We have also incorporated, and we keep on working and trying to have more training programs and training videos so that when you start working with K2BTools, it doesn't feel like it's complicated, but rather very easy.
podemos tener toda la parte de
So
videos de
this
capacitación.
means that you can have all the training videos available. And then the support team, that of course, you know, that all K2BTools users talk to us on a regular basis for, you know, support issues. And it's always been really, really well regarded by most of you. And last but not least, we have all the webinars with all the releases of the new versions. All of this is uploaded to our YouTube channels. So I would love to invite you all of you to download the latest K2BTools version. And well, very soon, you know, you will have more stuff coming along. So thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for being part of this session. I really hope that this time that we shared has been useful and fruitful. And well, I'm just going to leave a couple of minutes for questions and comments. So if you have any of either of them, just shoot and let's keep in touch. So yeah, you can just drop a line, you know, or send us an. You have my email address right there, you know. You can write to also support@k2btools.com. So yeah, that's it. Let's move to the Q&A session. We have just a couple of minutes, but also for those of you that already use K2BTools on the 25th of July, if I'm not mistaken, save the date because yeah, save the date because we're going to have the space event. So it's going to be a Q&A session, face-to-face, virtual, but real time, but live. So come on, let's move on to the Q&A session.
No vamos a responder todo.
We won't have enough time to answer all the questions probably because we need to finish at 3, but let's see what you guys have. I think you have an option for questions and answers. You have an icon so you can write your questions there.
Así que bien.
Okay, so great. Let's get started.
Ahí, Fede, mira, ¿me escuchás?
Okay, Fede, can you hear me? Emiliana, hi. You see that in the Q&A you have a number of questions. If you just click on that, you can. What happens if I click on answer live?
Apretá el botón. Si hay un botón verde, apretá.
Yeah, click on it and let's see what happens. Okay, do you see anything happening? I can stop sharing actually because yeah, I can just stop sharing my screen. Okay. So let's get started. Lucia Scioli. Sorry. I think that Lucia Scioli appears. I don't know. I think that a lot of people are. This feels a bit like Stranger Things, you know. It feels like a lot of people use Lucia as the language. Doesn't mean that everyone is the same person. So you will see that you have a lot of Lucia Sciolis, but just like answer all the questions, and probably it's the different person. Well, that's actually fun. I mean, to everyone that is called Lucia Scioli. So let's say that Lucia is just this fictional character. Maybe there is one real Lucia Scioli, but yeah. Fede, come on, go ahead. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I should get down to business. Can you configure in runtime the column assignment? If what you're asking is if you can configure in runtime what are the visible and invisible columns, yes. I don't know if that answers your question. So if not, please ask me again. Next question. Yeah, now Lucia, for example, is asking me this in Portuguese. Is it possible for filters to be floating and to appear like highlighted in the on the screen? Well, in terms of the interfaces specification, yes, it is possible. I mean, with K2BTools, you can have filters practically anywhere. So the limitation, you decide what's the limit. It's very flexible. I don't really understand if this question is about, but by default, you will have some locations for filters that will be in a certain place, but you could just place filters anywhere by editing what you call basic layouts. So if you want, just please send us an email and tell us a bit about what you mean exactly, and we will gladly just get back to you and help you achieve this. Yeah. Okay, I clicked something. I don't know. I'm hoping that I didn't miss a question. Okay, so we have someone that is not Lucia. Lionel says, excellent new version, interesting, everything that's coming up. A question: the multiple combos will be available for objects different from entity? Yes. I don't know what you mean exactly, but by this, if you're talking about the dynamic combo of K2BTools, or if you're talking about the multiple selection feature that you use with filters. For K2BTools, dynamic combos are available for everything. If you're talking about multiple filters, they are available in the pattern or in the designer only in the filter context. But we're making some progress so you can use this in everywhere else very soon. Okay, good. Then another one. Congrats on the version. I don't know if I'm reading. Okay, or Emmy, you want to read this? You're doing it beautifully. Just keep going. Yeah, keep going. I don't want to steal the spotlight. Congrats on the version. The edits suggest only searches in the general description. It would be really cool to also search in the other auxiliary descriptions. Also, it has some restrictions in the use of TRNs, for example, to feed it with data providers. Will they be saved some in the future? Yes, you're right. This is something that we are currently analyzing to try to remove these limitations as soon as possible so that you can use this everywhere. So yeah, we're working on it. Then after which GX version can you use K2BTools 14? This is a question by Leonardo. Well, the generic question is, if you go to the website and you go to the K2BTools 14, it tells you exactly which is the compatible and valid version. I think that it's available for GeneXus upgrade 9, GeneXus 10 upgrade 9. So yeah, just maybe go to the website. I touched something. I shouldn't have touched anything. Now I can't find the questions. Give me 1 second. Where am I? I'm sorry. Okay, here are the questions. Yeah. Sorry, it's the first time that I'm using Zoom for this, and okay, another question. Okay, another question. Good afternoon. Is it possible to add the possibility of adding a control like file upload that you can use directly in the web design tree of Web Panel Designer? I understand that you can use attributes and block variables, but the implementation tends not to be what we need. To use other controls, we need to use web component, having to use global events to deal with the communication between the elements on the screen. Emily, do you know by any chance if we're going to have these questions for later? Because it's a very interesting case and a great question. But yeah, we have to take a look at that. So Lucia, whoever you are, please, maybe you can send us an email with a bit more detail. Send an email to support or even to myself or to the forum and tell us a bit about this case in particular so that we can take a look at it. But yeah, it sounds super interesting that we can actually solve this pain that you have. That's what we're here for, right? Then Lucia again. What am I doing? I'm scrolling up, I'm scrolling down. I'm sorry. It's a bit messy, I know. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll keep reading, okay? Hey, is it possible to define functional dependencies from K2BTools that are not declared in the GeneXus KB due to the wrong use or not of subtypes? I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question. So please, again, send us an email to support@k2btools.com or just, yeah, to see what you mean exactly. Because if I have to answer right now, maybe the answer is no, but perhaps there is a pain point or something that we can, that we haven't detected. So it would be lovely if you could just send us an email telling us a bit more about this. It says the image selector could perhaps in the future support selecting more than one region, for example, to select 3 consecutive seats. Yeah, we're working on it. Yeah, working on it. Next question. Do you have a KB link where you have all the improvements that you have on K2BTools? Yes, we're working on it at the moment, and as a resource that will be made available to everyone, you will have a KB where you can see the latest stuff that has come up with the K2BTools. Export import CSV, is it valid for all the columns of the table or just is it valid for all the columns of a table or just the grid? Okay, nowadays it's implemented only for the grid. It's not in the so we should take a look at this case in particular probably. I understand that the import is something very sensitive because it's making some changes to the database. So I think that it's important that this is restricted, but if you have a case that you're having to deal with, just send us an email. And yeah, thanks for your question. Does the import CSV only work with the DSO? No, it also works with a theme object. Then Lucia, one of the Lucia said, I'm, well, they gave us their name. Okay, sorry, I'll try to answer as much as I can. And please, otherwise just, yeah, hey. So please, 2 more questions, and then we're gonna, yeah, we're gonna encourage anyone to just write an email. Okay, so I'm gonna just pick randomly. Is everyone reading the questions? Can you see the questions that were asked? Because otherwise you can just I could just pretend that someone has given me really good feedback if I'm the only one that can read the Q&A chat box. Well, in K2BTools, the best thing that you can do is to use a full GeneXus version. Because when you import K2BTools, you're also importing a number of objects that articulate all the functioning of K2BTools, and that object array is very large. So you can apply with a trial up to 20 instances of the pattern, but not on the GeneXus trial version. So and then finally, someone wrote this morning, I tried the CSV import with the Orient theme and it didn't work. So just, yeah, in that case, please send an email to support and we will be very quick about it. And we will see why exactly you couldn't do that. And well, having said that, thanks a lot to everyone. Again, I would really like to apologize because we have a time limit for this webinar and we have to stick to it. But all the channels are open. You know our team, you know that we are fast about your answers. So we will have the space event very soon. So ask us as many questions as you want. It doesn't, bother us. On the contrary, we're really interested in knowing about your problematics, your questions, your doubts. Anything, just shoot and send it, and we will be here. We will be there just to happily answer any questions that you may have and try to help you solve all your issues and try to work together as a community to get the most of this K2BTools product. So thanks a lot to everyone for your great vibes and your comments. And well, I'm here, available. Thanks a lot. Thanks to all the Lucias that participated today. Thank you for the emojis, and thanks to all of you that are not Lucia. So yeah, see you around. Bye. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being in this webinar.